Once upon a time, free speech was a sacred value in the West, the thing that set democracies apart from dictatorships, and which was celebrated with such sayings as, "I might not agree with what you say, but I will fight to the death to defend your right to say it." Well, who knew that in 2022, such words would now need a trigger warning? Yes, it's free speech, Twitter, and Elon Musk this week on Busting the Narrative. Before we investigate the actual consequences of Twitter falling, oh no, into the hands of a multi-billionaire free speech devotee, let's have a look at the psychological torment this development has brought upon the platform's previously most ardent supporters. Civil rights campaigner Shaun King told his 1.1 million followers that Musk's definition of free speech was about allowing, wait for it, white nationalists to target and harass people. Then, rather than stay behind to debate Musk in this new era of white supremacy, he summarily deleted his account. The New York Times, without even a hint of irony, tweeted that Musk's takeover wasn't about free speech, rather it was about controlling a megaphone. Yes, that's right, they just want to make sure they're the ones controlling it. New York Times columnist Greg Bensinger said that Musk would, quote, use the platform to slime his critics, body shame people, defy securities laws, and relentlessly hawk cryptocurrencies? Okay, sure. And CNN talk bubble Brian Stelter compared Twitter's new uninhabited policy to a wild party.
If you get invited to something where there are no rules, where there is total freedom for everybody, do you actually want to go to that party? Or are you going to decide to stay home? And that's a question for Twitter users.
Stay home, Brian. You'd only bore the rest of us anyway. And former Native American Elizabeth Warren said, billionaires like Elon Musk play by a different set of rules than anyone else, accumulating power for their own gain. But I guess it's okay when other billionaires like Jeff Bezos, by the Washington Post, which has, of course, been hugely against all of this because democracy dies in Elon Musk owning Twitter. So the question is, precisely what is Musk proposing that frightens these people so much? Well, Musk himself explained it thusly, quote, "I hope that even my worst critics remain on Twitter because that is what free speech means." Oh my God! How radical! Can you imagine the horror this caused? These are people who are petrified by opinions with which they disagree, and people who have these huge megaphones themselves of millions of followers who all are forced to listen to whatever they have to say. Their response to Musk is not a fear that they themselves will be banned. Musk made it clear that their accounts and their freedom of expression will be safe under his stewardship, but rather what their problem is that other people won't be banned, people with the wrong opinions. If that frightens them, they should maybe imagine how it felt for us lovers of Western civilization who have spent the past decade, 2, 3 decades, really, watching the cherished fundamental principle of the contest of ideas being systematically undermined, kneecapped, and destroyed by the historically illiterate, tyrannical, woke millennials who staff the citadels of social media, banning, shadow banning, and unashamedly suppressing any idea that doesn't fit the narrow, idiotic, woke agenda. Tucker Carlson pointed this out, said one of the most disturbing aspects of this whole phenomenon is the way it is being played out in the wild terrain of the public square, not in our parliaments.
And the irony is, if you'd like to save democracy, you are forced to look outside the democratic system in order to do it. At this point, you have no choice but to put your hopes in the good intentions of an eccentric billionaire. There's no other option because no one else is coming to the rescue.
He can say that again. Politicians are second only to woke milquetoasts in their fear of free speech these days, which is why the statute books of so many democracies are littered with legislation that makes it illegal to offend people. Well, not all people, of course. I mean, it's been culturally and legally acceptable to offend white people for years, which is why Twitter has continued to allow people like the Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran and the Nation of Islam's Louis Farrakhan to run accounts while banning people like Donald Trump and even satirical website, the Babylon Bee. Now, this misuse of power has been brought to the attention of President Joe Biden to whatever extent you can bring anything to Joe Biden's attention.
Twitter, the president has long been concerned about the power of large social media platforms.
Did you say long been concerned? Exactly how long do you mean, Jen? The power of social media platforms didn't bother Joe Biden when Twitter was suppressing the New York Post story about his son Hunter's laptop in the middle of the 2020 presidential election campaign, an expose that has since been conceded as legitimate and potentially one of the greatest corruption scandals in American history, but no big deal there. Nor was he concerned when, according to a new study, criticism of Joe Biden was censored 646 times on Twitter or Facebook over a 2-year period. But again, that's nothing compared to all those from Robert Reich to Jeff Bezos who've all lost their mind at the idea that ordinary people might once again get a say rather than being forced to say what their betters think. Thanks for watching. I'm James Morrow, and to support this channel, please like, share, and subscribe below, and I'll see you next week for more Busting the Narrative.